I'm sitting under the bank's fluorescent halo when my brother rotates the loan packet, so my name faces the room. Here's my sister's signature, he tells the branch manager, sliding the paper toward the projector as if he's presenting a gift, not a crime. Heat climbs my throat. My late father's brass coin burns a circle in my palm. If that's really my name on the line, then I've agreed to risk everything I own. And I don't remember saying yes. The glass walls throw our reflections back at us, faint and ghosted over the parking lot beyond. The long table gleams like a runway, every pen aligned beside a pad, embossed with the bank's logo. Condensation sweats down the chrome carafe between us, dripping in slow, fat beads. The AC hisses through a vent overhead, steady white noise, just loud enough to make you lean in if you want to hear anything important. The branch manager, Laura, sits opposite with her tablet flat like a tray. To her left, a regional director in a navy suit scrolls through something, jaw working on a piece of gum he's too polite to spit out. The junior analyst, kid with a crooked tie and an overeager nod, has his notebook already open, pen hovering like he's afraid to miss a word from my brother. On the table, the loan packet is thick, clipped in a single black binder clip that glints when it catches the light. I see the words business line of credit and personal guarantee in bold. I see our family house listed as collateral. My name sits in neat type above a line on the last page. From a distance, the signature beneath looks exactly like mine. The projector mounted in the ceiling gives a tiny relay click, then hums to life. A pale rectangle splashes across the far glass wall, turning our reflections into ghosts behind a blown-up image of the signature page. The camera in the corner of the room has a tiny green LED, steady, unblinking, recording. Laura leans forward, smiling in that way bankers do when they smell both risk and opportunity. I have to say, she tells my brother, not me, it's impressive how aligned your vision is. Family businesses with unified leadership tend to perform better over time. My brother laughs, a low practice sound. We've always been a team, he says. I handle the front end, my sister handles the analysis. She's the numbers brain. I just make them sound pretty. The coin's edge bites deeper into my fingers. Dad used to joke that my brother could sell a drowning man a glass of water, but he handed the ledger to me. Sign nothing you don't read yourself, kiddo. Paper remembers what people forget. My gaze tracks to the bottom right of the projected page. Date, 3 weeks ago. Under it, the curled, looping script that claims to be mine. The shape of the L in my first name is wrong. Mine hooks down and snaps back up, like a question mark that changed its mind. This one is wide, lazy, like it slept in. The junior analyst clears his throat, tapping his pen once against his notebook. A tiny click, sharp and neat. Just as a reminder, he says, eyes flicking to me, then back to my brother. Our external auditors will be joining remotely in a few minutes for the scheduled review. This session is being recorded for the compliance file and streamed live to the audit team upstairs. The word recorded hits harder than the coffee nodding in my stomach. The coin warms against my skin, ridges familiar as my own fingerprint. I shift in my chair, the leather creaking softly, and let my hand stay in my pocket. The camera's green light stares. The projector's fan hums, steady as a heartbeat. Perfect, my brother says easily. We're all about transparency. He turns the page back to him, pen flicking in his fingers, a nervous tick dressed up as charm. So, as we outlined in the forecast, he continues, we're requesting a 200,000 line to expand the inventory and renovate the showroom. With the property as collateral, your exposure is minimal, and we'll maintain a healthy debt service coverage ratio. My sister ran the projections herself. He nods toward me like a stage magician revealing his assistant. 3 pairs of eyes swing my way. My throat tightens around nothing. I nod once, slow. My tongue tastes like metal, like a coin held too long on the back of it. I built the model, I say. My voice comes out calm. The numbers work if the assumptions are real. Laura laughs lightly, taking that as a joke. Well, we'll definitely be looking at those assumptions, she says. My phone rests face down beside my notepad. I slide my thumb along the edge, unlocking it with a hidden tap. Under the table, shielded by the angle of my leg, I flick open my calendar and scroll back 3 weeks to the date printed under that signature. The little square is already full. I see the note I made. Grandma's birthday dinner, caterer pickup. I remember the steam from the foil pans when I opened them in my kitchen. I remember standing at my own stove at exactly the time they now claim I was in this building, signing away our house. I was not here. The AC kicks a little stronger, a cool draft against the back of my neck. The projector image sharpens itself with a soft mechanical whir, refocusing on the curve of the fake signature. Up in the corner of the room, the telecom panel gives a bright digital chime. A small screen on the wall flashes. Audit conference connected. Tinny voices crackle through the ceiling speaker as someone adjusts a microphone on the other end. Bank conference room, can you hear us? A man's voice asks, slightly delayed. This is Mason from External Audit, joined by Priya from Compliance. Laura taps a button on the table microphone. There's a soft beep. Yes, we can hear you, she says. We have both borrowers present. We're reviewing the packet now. Both borrowers. I watch my brother's shoulders relax a fraction. He loves an audience, especially ones he can't see. He angles his body toward the microphone as if there's a camera just for him. Happy to walk you through our plan, he says. Like I mentioned, my sister has already signed off on the guarantee and projections. This is really just a formality. The words clink together like coins on metal. Signed off, guarantee, formality. My thumb presses harder into the coin until it hurts. I focus on the pain, on the faint buzz of the fluorescent lights, on the whisper of the analyst's pen as he writes. Borrower appears confident beside my brother's name, ? Beside mine. I could say it now. I could point to the lazy loop on the L and tell the room that my hand does not move that way. I could tell the audit team listening in that the date is wrong, that the timestamp on their own security cameras will back me up. I could force the projector to freeze on the lie and scrape it open in front of everybody. My brother feels my eyes on him. He glances sideways, smile still pasted on for the room. And his shoe taps the side of my chair, a tiny kick only I feel. A warning wrapped as a nudge. Right, sis? He prompts, voice smooth. You're comfortable with the structure. I swallow. The coin burns. The camera watches. The audit line records every breath. I'm here to understand it, I say carefully. That's why we're all in the room. A brief silence follows. Just the soft rush of air through the vent, the projector fan, the scratch of the analyst's pen. Then the regional director nods, apparently satisfied with my non-answer, and looks back at the packet. I sit back a fraction, spine straight, eyes open. I let my hand curl fully around the coin until the metal print will stay on my palm long after this meeting ends. I start a list in my head, quiet and precise. Step 1. Do not sign anything today. Step 2. Request a complete copy of the packet, including signature pages, before we leave. Step 3. Pull the security footage that proves where I was not. I memorize the page numbers, the language around the guarantee, the name of the external auditor on the screen. I count the seconds between each beep of the conference line. I listen for every phrase my brother uses that sounds too polished, too rehearsed, like he practiced them in the mirror. I force myself to stay quiet and observe, cataloging every sound, every phrase, every camera light. If I accuse him now with nothing but a wrong loop on a letter, he'll make me the crazy one. The projector hums, and the fluorescent halo above me buzzes. And suddenly I am under a different light. Years earlier, at our kitchen table, Dad's yellowed ceiling fixture throws a warm circle over a mess of papers and a chipped sugar bowl. The bulb ticks as it heats, a soft insect sound. The laminate under my elbows is worn to a dull shine, where his forearms have lived for decades. Always start with the bank statement, he says, tapping the top page with a thick finger. This is the spine. Everything else hangs off it. The paper crackles when he straightens it. I smell old coffee and dish soap, and the faint metal tang of the plumbing that never quite stops whining in the walls. A fly bumps against the window screen in slow, stupid arcs. He reaches into his pocket, fishes something out, and catches my right hand before I can tuck it under the table. Here, he says, you fidget. Might as well make it useful. He presses the brass coin into my palm. It's big as a bottle cap. Heavier, the ridged edge biting my skin. The metal is warm from his body. One side has a worn emblem. The other is smooth from years of rubbing. When you're not sure, he tells me, hold on to this until you are. And if you're signing something you don't understand, you keep that hand in your pocket. His mouth crooks with the joke, but his eyes stay serious. Paper remembers what people forget. He says it so many times, it becomes a drumbeat under homework and dinner and reruns of game shows in the background. My brother is late to this little lesson, like always. The back door bangs, letting in a slice of cooler air and the smell of cut grass from the yard. He saunters in with his phone out, shoes leaving a faint trail of dirt on the linoleum. Sorry, traffic, he says, even though it's a 5-minute walk from his friend's house. He drops a kiss on Mom's head where she stands at the stove, stirring sauce. Dad sighs, but he smiles too. My brother's presence flips something in him that never flips for me. Look who decided to join us, Dad says. Come see what your sister's doing. She's gonna make sure we don't go broke. I sit taller. The coin sits in my palm like a secret. My brother leans over the table, not looking at the numbers, just at Dad. You're not going broke, he says with easy confidence. You're booked solid for the next 6 months. Everyone at church wants you to redo their kitchens. Dad laughs, pride swelling in his chest. That's my boy, always selling. He claps my brother on the shoulder. We're a team. She keeps me out of trouble with the bank. You keep the work coming in. I get a nod, polite, almost like a footnote. My brother gets the bigger slice of praise, the thicker slice of lasagna later. That's just how it goes. Years blur and harden. The kitchen table becomes a desk in a cramped office at the edge of a small construction yard. Our company logos flake a little on the trucks. Sawdust and cold concrete mix with the smell of stale coffee and printer toner. After Dad dies, the office feels wrong, hollow, like someone turned down the volume on the world. Mom floats through the house in his old sweater, clutching the sleeves like that will hold him in. I can't look at his paperwork, she whispers once, eyes shiny over a stack of mail. You and your brother handle it. I just can't. So we do, or I do, and my brother says we do. I sit at the desk under a too bright LED strip, the brass coin in my pocket, and I keep the books. I reconcile bank statements line by line, tick marks in the margins, highlighters like a traffic light across overdue invoices. I know which supplier will wait and which will cut us off if we're late by a single day. My brother takes the charm rolls. He walks job sites in clean boots, shakes clients' hands, talks about vision and potential resale value. He brings Mom to meetings when she can stand it, lets her sit beside him in a blazer she bought because Dad never lived long enough to see her in one. He sounds just like your father, she tells me after one bank appointment she actually attends, voice soft with something like hope. She doesn't see the way his jaw tightens when the conversation turns to numbers and covenants and risk. She doesn't see the way he glances at me to translate. The business hits a rough patch, and the rough patch stretches. Materials skyrocket. 1 month, the price of lumber doubles. The next, insulation. Clients delay payments with thin apologies and thicker excuses. We'll have the check next week, they say. And next week keeps moving. I build a spreadsheet that looks like a battlefield. Columns for days outstanding, for interest, for the quiet panic that comes at 3 a.m. when you realize payroll and supplier drafts hit on the same day. The existing loan renewal creeps closer on the calendar. I circle the date in red and copy it onto a checklist tacked above my monitor. Review covenants. Confirm balances. No surprises. The bank starts using different words, restructuring, personal guarantees. In one meeting, a manager in a pressed shirt slides a brochure across the desk toward me and my brother. The paper is thick, glossy. He taps a section with his pen. With where the market's at, he says, we're asking our small business partners to show their commitment. It's really just a formalization of the relationship you already have with the bank. Real commitment. That means our house, our names, not just the company's. My brother nods, leaning back, hands open like this is all part of his grand plan. Of course, he says. We're all in. Let us take this home. Talk it through. In the car afterward, I say, I want to be at every meeting where my name is even on a printout. No more solo visits. No more phone calls I'm not looped into. He drums his fingers on the steering wheel, the way he always does when he's already decided something, and is just waiting for me to catch up. Relax, he says. This is my lane. You're the detail queen. I'm the bank guy. You focus on the work. I'll handle the suits. The suits want my signature, I say, so I handle them too. He laughs a little too quick. You hate those rooms, he reminds me. The air vents, the fake smiles, the coffee that tastes like cardboard. Let me do it. I'll send you what matters. The coin presses against my thigh like it's trying to speak. I tap it once, twice, a tiny Morse code for "Are you sure?" After that, the meetings start moving last minute. He comes back from the bank with a latte and a stack of papers. They pulled me in early, he says. You would have hated it. Fluorescence and no snacks. He waves off my questions about schedules with an easy shrug. They called you, he insists once. You must have forgotten to pick up. Another time, there's an email I never see. I forwarded it, he says, thumb swiping across his phone. Check your spam. Their system is weird. It's always some small thing keeping me out of the room. A calendar glitch, a missed call, a link that doesn't load. Meanwhile, he brings me forms that look harmless. Vendor updates, he says, sliding a clipboard across the desk, finger already hovering where my name should go. They changed their payment terms. Sign here so we can keep ordering drywall. I read them. I always read them. ACH authorization for a supplier we've used for years. An updated contact form for the utility company. A bank document that just updates signatory access on our checking account. I note fonts, look for blanks, ask questions when something feels off. I scan each signed sheet into a folder on my computer labeled admin, dated and tagged. I am not careless. But nothing he brings me says 200,000 or personal guarantee. Nothing screams this will put your house on the table. Then we hear the bank has approved a new proposal. My brother bursts into the office one afternoon, wind at his back, cheeks flushed from either weather or victory. We're good, he announces. They loved the plan. Just a couple signatures and we're set. He drops a manila folder on my desk. It's not thick enough to be everything. The edge of the brass coin digs into my palm as I pick up my pen. Which documents, I ask. Just some vendor stuff, updating the account access so they can draft directly, he says. His smile is bright and easy. You've seen these a million times. I'll take the heavy bank paperwork off your plate. The pages in front of me look familiar. Logos I know, paragraphs I half recognize. The office clock ticks behind me, each second loud and even. The printer wakes itself up with a whir for no reason, then settles. I flip to the signature lines. My name waits in neat type. The air feels thicker, like the room is watching. The coin burns a circle into my skin as I hesitate. Then I press the pen down and sign the forms he's chosen to show me. Ink soaking into fibers I don't yet know I will have to unspool later. Days stack themselves into a crooked little wall after that. My life becomes screens and paper and the steady hum of the office printer. I'm at my desk, as usual, when it happens. The monitor's glow is pale against the gray of a cloudy afternoon, and the coffee in my mug has gone lukewarm and bitter. My phone vibrates near the keyboard, a small insect buzz. Then the notification chime pops. Bright, clean, the bank's app sound. I glance down, thumb already reaching. Habit. The screen shows the bank's logo and a line of text. Attempted transfer blocked. Underneath, smaller letters. Linked to credit facility ending in a number I've never seen. The smell of coffee turns sour in my mouth. I tap the alert. The app opens with a soft haptic bump. My account overview looks the same at first glance. Checking, savings, business accounts lined up like obedient soldiers. But there's a new tab I don't recognize. Credit facilities. My thumb hesitates over it, then presses. A page loads with a little spinning wheel. When it resolves, there it is. A line of credit I have never heard of. Limit high enough to make my chest feel hollow. Next to it, a note in bland gray text. Latest activity. Attempted transfer pending review. Authorized by joint account holder. My name sits in parentheses after the word joint like a punchline. The coin in my pocket goes hot. My fingers close around it until the ridges bite. I breathe once, slow, numbers first, panic second. That's the rule. I jot the facility number on a sticky note. The amount, the word pending. My pen digs into the paper. The office clock ticks over another minute. The second hand hopping like it's trying to get my attention. I hit the little phone icon in the bank app. There's a soft beep, then the chirpy voice of an automated menu. Please say in a few words how we can help you today. Representative, I say. My voice sounds calm, someone else's. Account authorization question. The system thinks, then routes me. Tinny hold music pours into my ear, all flutes and fake strings. I watch the call timer climb. At the 3-minute mark, a live voice clicks in. Thank you for calling, a woman says, her tone smooth, practiced. My name is Hannah. Can I get your full name and the last 4 digits of your social to verify? I give her the details, answer my first pet's name, my mother's maiden name, the street I grew up on. Each answer lands like a stamp. Verified, approved, trusted. How can I help you today, Ms. Lopez? She asks. There's an attempted transfer on a credit facility I don't recognize, I say. It says it was authorized by a joint account holder. I need to know what that means. I hear keys clicking, papers rustling in the background. Okay, I'm seeing the pending transfer, she says after a moment. It's tied to your business credit line. Looks like it was initiated this morning and flagged for internal review. You are listed as an authorized party on the account. I have never signed anything for that credit line, I tell her. The first I'm hearing of it is this notification. She pauses. It's barely a breath, but I hear it. Well, she says carefully. We do have your authorization on file, ma'am. It looks like a signed consent form approving the facility and allowing electronic transfers. It's dated about a month ago. The date slides in and sits next to Dad's old voice in my head. Paper remembers what people forget. I want a copy, I say, of whatever you're looking at. The consent form, the signature page, all of it. I'm not sure I consent, she starts. You can, I cut in, still polite. Under your own terms and conditions, I have the right to a copy of any document bearing my signature. I'm happy to stay on the line while you check with the supervisor. Silence again, longer this time. The coin is a small star in my fist. Let me place you on a brief hold while I confirm, she says. The music comes back, tinny and bright, scraping against my nerves. I stare at the sticky note on my desk, the numbers already starting to sink hooks into my memory. When she returns, her voice is lighter. Okay, Ms. Lopez, I can email you a scanned copy of the consent form we have on file. It'll go to the email address ending in Paltard Build. Is that correct? Yes, I say. Please do. And can you give me the case reference number for this call? I write the number she recites at the top of the sticky note. Date, time, her name, Hannah. Evidence. Chain of custody, Dad would joke, like we're cops, not contractors. Within a minute of hanging up, my inbox pings. The subject line reads, Requested Authorization Document. I click it open. There's a PDF attachment and a short, bland paragraph about my recent inquiry. The printer wakes with a whir when I hit print. It pulls the paper through with its usual greedy hiss, then spits it out warm onto the tray. I pick up the page by the edges, the way Dad did with blueprints when his hands were greasy. My name sits at the bottom, curled at the end like it's taking a nap it doesn't deserve. At first glance, it looks like mine. The same looping L, the same quick rise into the rest of the letters. But when I tilt the page under the light, tiny things jump out. The pressure at the start of my first name is wrong. There's a fat dot where my pen always lands light and then deepens. The angle of the final stroke is a degree off, like my wrist decided to turn left when I know it always flicks right. My father used to joke that our signatures are like our walking gait. You can watch someone walk and pretend to walk like them, he'd say, tracing my name on scrap paper. But you can't fake the weight that hits the floor. The coin in my pocket is molten now. I press it against my thigh until it hurts. I study the document. The layout is unfamiliar. The fine print reads like it was written to be skimmed, not understood. I search my memory for any moment in the past month where I might have been rushed, distracted, pen in hand, and my brother at my elbow. Nothing, just a blank where his story will try to live. That night, I bring the printout home. The house smells like reheated leftovers and the lemon cleaner I used on the counters. Mom is in the living room with the TV low, volume turned down so far the laugh track sounds like distant traffic. My brother is at the kitchen island finishing a sandwich, crumbs scattered like confetti. His phone glows beside his plate. The coin is already in my palm by the time I step into the doorway. I got an interesting email from the bank, I say, placing the printed page on the counter between us. He glances at it, then up at me. His eyes flick over the logo, the layout, the signature. His smile comes fast. Oh, that, he says, chuckling. He reaches out and taps the bottom of the page where the signature curls. You signed that in my truck, remember? We were parked outside the supply yard. You were rushing, that's why it looks off. I stare at him. No, I say, I don't remember that. He tosses his napkin onto the plate. Laugh easy, casual. Come on, he insists. We had the radio on, that stupid song you hate. You know, the one with the whistling. We argued about whether the client was going to stiff us on that bathroom remodel. You kept saying, get it in writing, and I told you the bank already had our backs. He smiles, adding detail like seasoning. You were wearing that gray hoodie with paint on the sleeve, he goes on. You signed on your knee. The pen kept skipping. The thing about details is that they're how my brain works. He knows that. He pours them out now, specific and vivid, until the part of me that trusts my own memory stutters. Was I in his truck that day? Did we argue about that client in the parking lot or over coffee? Did I sign something with the radio up and the engine idling? The page in front of me doesn't care. The ink is dry, unmoved by his story or mine. I read what I sign, I tell him slowly. And I don't remember reading this. You're drowning in invoices, he says, almost gently. Of course you don't remember every form. That's why I'm stepping up. Let me handle the bank stuff. We're almost through this, okay? Mom appears in the hallway doorway, cardigan wrapped tight around her. She hears the last bit and her face pinches. Are you two fighting again? She asks. He's finally stepping up to help with the business, and you're questioning him. For what? A piece of paper? It's not just a piece of paper, I say. My voice comes out softer than I feel. It's a lot of money, Mom, and our names. She looks at my brother, not me. Your father would be proud of you, she tells him. Taking the load off your sister. She looks exhausted. The word lands like a verdict. Exhausted, overworked, forgetful. The narrative clicks into place around me, tidy and convenient. My brother holds my gaze over the consent form, his smile small and sympathetic. Like he's comforting a child who's scared of the dark. Get some sleep, he says. Trust me on this one. The coin is a hard sun in my fist. I pick up the page, smooth it once, and carry it back to my room. The hallway light hums overhead, a faint electric buzz. In my office corner, I slide the printout into a new folder. A bright red one I label with the facility number and the word questioned in small, careful letters. I press my thumb into the coin until its ridges print deep in my skin and stare at that one word on the tab. Questioned. For the first time, it's not my memory I'm questioning. It's his. If his story can be a lie, then I need something that does not lie back. Paper, systems, people whose job it is to care when ink goes where it shouldn't. The office is quiet. Just the low hum of the computer tower and the occasional drip from the coffee maker I forgot to turn off. The red folder with questioned on the tab sits in front of me like a stop sign. I flip it open, slide the consent form out, and set it next to an old habit I haven't used in years. Before Dad got sick, before the construction yard and the payroll scrambles, there was a different version of me. The one who temps in a mortgage office in a glass building 2 suburbs over. The printers are fancier there, but toner smells the same everywhere. I learned just enough about compliance to be annoying. Enough to know that banks like things in writing. Enough to know which phrases make paralegals look up. I pull a fresh sheet of letterhead from the drawer and uncap my pen. The coin is already in my left hand, ridged edge braced against my lifeline. Request for document copies, I write at the top. Simple, clean. Then I let the mortgage office version of me steer. I request copies of all documents bearing my signature related to any credit facility, loan, or guarantee on any account where I am listed as borrower, co-borrower, guarantor, or authorized signatory. I specify executed versions. I include dates, account numbers, that facility number in bold. I drop phrases I remember paralegals tossing around like confetti. For my records, in connection with my rights as a consumer, to verify the accuracy of your file. The words line up on the page, more backbone than anger. At the bottom, I sign my name, slowly. The way Dad taught me when he said it was a gate, not a scribble. I let the ink settle. The coin warms in my palm, as if approving. I scan the letter into a folder labeled Bank, Requests, and save it with the date. Then I email it to our contact at the branch and the generic customer service address. Blind copying myself because that mortgage office girl is still in here, and she keeps receipts. When the email swooshes away, I sit back and listen to the quiet. The coffee maker clicks as it finally gives up trying to stay warm. The next morning, I walk into the branch with a printed copy of my letter in my bag and the coin in my pocket. The air inside is colder than outside, dry and processed. It smells like toner and old carpet cleaner and whatever perfume the teller closest to the door is wearing. I check in at the front desk, give my name, say I'm here to review documents on file. The receptionist taps at her keyboard, the plastic keys snapping. A little ticket printer beeps and spits out a slip with my name and an extension number. Someone from underwriting will come get you, she says, smiling the way people do when policy says they have to. You can have a seat over there. The seating area is all low chairs and glossy brochures. The overhead speakers murmur about interest rates and mobile deposits. I don't sit. I stand beside a ficus that has never seen real sunlight and watch the reflection of the lobby in the glass doors. A woman in a cardigan and a badge clipped to her belt appears from behind a frosted door and calls my name. "Hi, I'm Harper," she says when I step forward. Her handshake is firm, but tired. She has a highlighter tucked behind her ear and faint shadows under her eyes. "I'm a junior analyst. They asked me to help pull your file." She leads me past cubicles that all look the same, 2 monitors, 1 plant, a photo tacked to a gray wall. Printers hum in the background, punctuated by the occasional sharp beep when one runs out of paper. Her cubicle smells like dry paper and the ghost of someone's lunch from last week. She gestures to the extra chair. "Have a seat," she says. "I've already started printing what we have." I sit, but my back stays straight. The coin is a warm disc in my palm under the desk. I keep my voice even. "Thank you for seeing me," I say. "I'm just trying to reconcile what's in your system with what's in mine." Her lips twitch like she'd smile if she weren't at work. "Sure," she says. "We like it when people actually look at their paperwork." The printer beside us starts its little ritual. Low whir, then a quick series of clicks, then paper sliding out. Harper swivels, gathers the stack, straightens it with a practiced thump on the desk. "Okay," she says, flipping through. "These are the documents with your signature I could pull directly. Here." She taps one batch. Vendor authorizations, ACH forms, and then this. She lifts a thicker packet, the fat one, stapled at the top with a heavy metallic bite. "This is the credit facility and guarantee you referenced in your email." She slides them across to me, turning the pages so they face my side of the desk. The stapled packet lands with a dull weight I feel up my arms. I start with the smaller forms. My handwriting stares back at me, neat and unmistakable. The A in my last name has that tiny extra hook I've had since high school. Dates and notes match my files. Vendor updates. Checking account access. Nothing new. Then I lay my hand on the fat packet. The cover page wears the bank's logo like a shield. Inside, paragraphs march down the paper in dense, careful legalese. Credit limit, collateral, events of default. At the back, where my eye wants to jump, are signature lines. I flip straight there. My name in type, a line beneath. The suspect scrawl sitting on it like a smirk. Up close, in fluorescent office light, the differences glare. The first letter lands heavy, a little ink blot where my hand is usually lighter, more controlled. The last stroke leans the wrong way, like it's trying to exit the page by a side door instead of the front. The dates in the corner are neat and clear. I whisper them in my head. Once, twice. Then I check them against the mental calendar I've been carrying around since Dad first handed me a ledger. On that date, at that time, I am not in a bank. I am at an inspection site across town, knee-deep in drywall dust, while an inspector checks the spacing on our joists. I remember the grit in my socks, the beep of his moisture meter against the studs, the way my phone keeps losing reception, air-conditioned lobby versus half-finished house. These pages insist I am here. I look up. Harper is watching me over the top of her monitor. Her eyes flick to the packet, then back to my face. "You said in your email you had some questions," she says, carefully neutral. "I'm comparing signatures," I say. "On some of these, I recognize my hand. On others, I let the words trail off. I need to understand how they were executed. Where? When?" She studies me for a beat, then swivels her monitor a few degrees, just enough that I can see a list of account numbers, dates, internal codes. "I can't give you internal commentary," she says quietly. "But I can tell you that this account," she taps the facility number on the screen with her highlighter, "has been flagged for unusual activity." Unusual. The word sits between us like a third person. "There's an internal review scheduled," she adds. "External auditors are coming in to look at a sample of high-risk accounts next week. This one is on their list. There'll be a live session with management and audit, going through the documentation on screen." The image flashes in my mind. Big table, screens, my name blown up on the wall. A room full of people whose job is to notice when weight lands wrong on paper. "What kind of session?" I ask. "Like a meeting?" She nods, lowers her voice another notch, glancing around at the neighboring cubicles. "They pull files," she says. "Ask questions. Sometimes they reach out to customers if they need clarification. Anything you say about this could end up in a report. Just so you know, anything I say, report. Words that travel beyond this gray cubicle and its sleepy plant." I nod, matching her hush. "I appreciate the heads up," I say. "For now, I just want copies of everything, full packet. Every page with my name on it." She reaches for a manila envelope. The flap makes a dry rustle as she opens it. She slides the forms in, neat and square, tapping the stack against the desk until all the edges line up. Chain of custody, I hear Dad say, in my head, amused. He is never a cop, but he loves good procedure. Harper writes my name and the account number on the envelope in small, blocky letters. Then she hesitates, the highlighter back behind her ear, her pen still in her hand. I can't tell you what to do, she says, not quite looking at me. But if you have concerns, it's better to raise them where they'll get logged, with someone whose job title includes risk or audit, not just your relationship manager. It's as close to a warning as she can give without stepping outside whatever line her job draws around her. I take the envelope. The paper is warm from the printer, the weight of it a new center of gravity in my hands. Thank you, I say. I mean it. On my way out, the lobby feels different. The same posters, the same fake ficus, the same automatic doors whooshing open. But now I know there's a room upstairs, or across town, or behind a screen somewhere, where people will be paid to pick apart what my brother did. The coin in my pocket is so warm it leaves a faint circle on my skin when I slip my hand out. Outside, the glass front of the bank throws my reflection back at me, superimposed on the parking lot and the sky. Maybe I don't have to scream forgery in his face. Maybe I just have to make sure the right eyes are on the right pages when his story hits the wall. But first, I need to see exactly how blind my own house is willing to be. The dining table still smells faintly of furniture polish and old birthday candles when I lay the papers out in rows. The overhead light hums, a soft electric buzz, and the wood carries knife marks from years of dinners that always ended with someone clearing plates while Dad made jokes about overhead costs. Now it's just me, the documents, and the two people who can still choose which version of us they believe. I set the fat packet in the center, the red folder beside it, my work logs in a neat stack. The coin is in my pocket, warm against my thigh. I can feel its ridged edge even through denim, like it's tracing a circle there. Mom sits at the far end, rosary already in her fingers, beads clicking softly. My brother takes the chair to my right, the one Dad used to use when he wanted to loom over a problem and solve it with sheer presence. Why all the drama, my brother asks, leaning back, arms crossed. You could have just texted. Because texts disappear, I say. Paper doesn't. I spread my palm over the top page, flattening it. The paper is cool, smooth. The bank logo stares up at us. This, I begin, keeping my voice even, is the new credit facility in the business's name. This is the guarantee tying it to the house. If this loan goes bad, we don't just lose the company. I tap the address line with my finger. We lose this place. Mom's eyes flick to the window like she can already see a for sale sign planted in the lawn. Her thumb stutters on the rosary bead she's holding, then resumes its slow, circular rub. My brother snorts. Only if it goes bad, he says. Which it won't. That's the whole point of growth, remember? I ignore the word growth. It's become his favorite air freshener for the stink of risk. I slide my work logs closer, pages filled with dates, times, job sites, mileage. These are my logs for the days the bank says I signed these, I say. Inspection schedules, supplier runs. And these? I pick up the smaller stack Harper gave me, the forms with my real signature. Are documents I know I signed, vendor updates, ACH authorizations. The handwriting is mine. The dates line up with where I was. I lay one beside the signature page from the fat packet. The two names sit next to each other like twins that share bones, but not a heartbeat. This one, I say, tapping the guarantee, is not mine. Not the way my hand moves. Not the day it supposedly happened. My brother leans forward, lips already curling. Here we go, he mutters. I was across town that afternoon, I go on. At the Maplewood site, the inspector checked Joy's spacing at 3. My phone log shows a dropped call from you at 3:15. The bank's copy says I was in their lobby signing this at 3:30. I slide my finger from the date on the page to the notation in my log. My handwriting looks small but sure. So either I teleported, I say, or someone put my name on that line when I wasn't there. Mom shifts in her chair, wood creaking. Maybe you're mixing up the days, she suggests quickly. You work so much, it all blurs. My brother seizes the lifeline. Exactly, he says. You admit yourself you're drowning in invoices. You think you remember every signature, every clipboard shoved at you in the truck or on a tailgate? He barks a laugh. You signed plenty in my cab when we were rushing between jobs. I feel the coin burn in my pocket. I anchor to it. I'm careful about what I sign, I say. Dad, don't, he cuts in sharply. Don't drag him into this to win an argument. The rosary clicks a little faster in Mom's hands. I'm not trying to win an argument, I say. I'm trying to keep us from losing the house because someone thought they could copy my name and hope I never noticed. He slaps his palm down on the table. The sound cracks through the room. The glasses on the sideboard rattle faintly. Ungrateful, he says, voice rising. You are so ungrateful. I bust my ass trying to keep this business afloat. Finally step up, finally take the lead with the bank. And your response is to accuse me? Because you resent my leadership? That word hits like him trying on Dad's suit jacket. Too big, sleeves dragging. Leadership. This isn't about your ego, I say. My own voice drops instead of climbing. It goes low, steady. This is about whether a signature on a legally binding loan is real. He jabs a finger at me. No, this is about your paranoia, about your trust issues. Every time I move us forward, you go digging for something to pull me back. It's sick. Mom's chair scrapes as she leans forward. Her rosary tangles around her fingers, beads biting into her skin. Why are you doing this? She asks me, eyes glossy. He is finally stepping up and you start this witch hunt? Do you want us divided? Is that what you want? I stare at the papers in front of me, the neat rows I laid out like an offering. The air feels heavier, crowding my lungs. The dining room clock ticks above the doorway, each second a tap against my skull. Something inside me snaps into focus. Maybe it's the mortgage office girl. Maybe it's Dad's voice. Maybe it's the word that's been circling my tongue for days. Waiting. Forgery, I say? The room exhales all at once and then doesn't inhale again. The temperature drops. Or maybe it's just the sweat cooling on the back of my neck. The fridge hum in the kitchen seems louder, the tiny click as it cycles on and off magnified. My brother's jaw tightens so hard I can see the muscles jump. He pushes back his chair and stands, leaning over the table until his shadow cuts across the signature pages. You want to say that again? He asks, voice low but shaking. You want to look Mom in the eye and say you think I forged your name? I don't look away. The coin's edge digs into my fingertips through the fabric of my pocket. I think someone did, I say. And you're the one who benefits. Color floods up his neck, into his face. The veins at his temples stand out. His voice jumps an octave without his permission. You want to call the cops on your own blood? He demands, loud enough that I know the neighbors can hear through their open kitchen window. You want to see Mom die of shame when people find out you tried to put her son in handcuffs over a misunderstanding? Mom flinches at the word cops. Her knuckles go white around the rosary. Stop it, she whispers. Stop talking like that. He doesn't stop. You think they're going to side with you? He presses on. Little Miss Perfect Records. Or the guy out there actually bringing in work. You want to drag our name through court because you can't admit you don't remember signing a piece of paper in my truck? My heart is beating hard enough that I can feel it in my teeth. I look down at the documents to steady myself. My name curls on the page like it's mocking me. There is no version of this conversation where they suddenly see it. Not here, not in this room with the photos on the walls and Dad's ghost sitting at the head of the table in their minds, wearing my brother's face. I start gathering the papers. He notices immediately. His hand shoots out like he might grab them, but I'm quicker. I slide the most important pages into the red folder, then tuck the folder under my arm. The chair leg scrapes the floor as I stand. What are you doing? He snaps. Those are bank documents. They stay here. They're copies the bank gave me, I say, of things that supposedly bear my signature. They go where I go. His eyes narrow. For a second I see it. The calculation, the part of him that understands chain of custody better than he lets on. You backing down now? He sneers. Got it out of your system? I slip the red folder into my bag, the coin in my pocket shifting to make room. For a moment, paper's edge and metal's rim line up together, two different kinds of sharp. I'm done trying to convince you, I say. That's not the room that matters. He scoffs, turning away, shoulders bunching under his shirt. Whatever, he throws over his shoulder as he stalks toward the hall. We've got a big bank review next week. External people on the line, managers, the works. I expect you to sit there, smile, and act like a team. No theatrics, no accusations. You make us look solid, you understand? The word team tastes like rust in my mouth. He disappears down the hallway, voice still echoing faintly as his bedroom door slams. Mom sinks back into her chair, rosary loose now, eyes on the table like the wood grain, holds the answer she wants. I stand alone in the doorway, bag strap cutting into my shoulder, the weight of the envelope and the coin making one side of me heavier than the other. Big bank review, he said. External people, managers. He thinks it's his stage. He has no idea I've already reserved front row seats for a different audience. The next morning, I walk back into the branch with my bag heavier on one side, the red folder tucked in beside my father's coin. The glass doors whoosh open, conditioned air smelling like toner and old carpet cleaner washing over me. The overhead speakers murmur about savings accounts. Somewhere a printer beeps, out of paper. Harper looks up when I reach her cubicle. Her highlighter is still tucked behind her ear, but there's a coffee ring on one corner of her keyboard, like someone set a mug down too hard and forgot to wipe it. "You're back," she says, not surprised, not exactly pleased either, just awake. "I am," I say. I lower my voice a little. "And I have a different kind of question." She arches an eyebrow, glances at the open floor around us, then waves me into the chair again. "Shoot," she says, fingers poised over the keyboard. I slide into the seat, the coin already in my palm under the desk, a warm, solid circle. "Hypothetically," I say, "if a customer disputed a signature on a recorded transaction, what happens? What are your fraud procedures?" Her fingers still in midair. That tiny freeze tells me more than a paragraph. "Hypothetically," she repeats, eyes lifting to mine. "As in, we're not talking about anything specific yet?" "Let's pretend we're not," I say, "for the moment." She exhales through her nose, a quiet, thoughtful sound, and pulls her hands back from the keys, folding them over a sticky notepad instead. "Well," she says slowly, "if someone formally disputes a signature on a loan or authorization, the bank is obligated to investigate. There are timelines. We have to file internal reports, sometimes external ones, depending on what we find. It gets documented. Obligated, investigate, reports, words with weight. And recorded, I ask, if I said the word fraud or forgery in writing?" Her gaze sharpens. She glances at the edge of my red folder, peeking from my bag. Her highlighter makes a faint plastic squeak as she shifts in her chair. "Then," she says carefully, "that's language that triggers certain workflows. We don't get to ignore those." The coin presses into my palm. I adjust my grip until the ridges align with the grooves of my skin. "Okay," I say, "then I need to be very clear about what I'm disputing and what I can prove." That word makes her straighten. "Proof is good," she says. "What do you have?" We spend the next half hour building a quiet case, brick by brick, in a cubicle that smells like stale coffee and warm plastic. I pull up my work logs on my phone. She watches as I scroll to the days in question. The GPS timestamps on my job tracking app show me driving into the Maplewood site at 3:07, taking photos of Joyce at 3:22, texting the client at 3:40. I slide the phone across the desk. She checks the times, nods, writes them down on a legal pad in neat square handwriting. "Send yourself those screenshots," she says. "We can't take your phone images directly, but if you email them to us in response to a request, they become part of the file. We talk about texts with clients, time-stamped, saved. I mention the inspection reports. She notes the inspector's name and the city department that employs him. Third-party documentation is strong," she murmurs, "especially if we can cross-reference it." "What about here?" I ask. I tilt my chin toward the lobby beyond, the cameras tucked discreetly in the corners. "Security footage." She follows my gaze. "We retain branch footage for a set period," she says. "I can't pull it myself, but if there's an investigation, loss prevention can. If you were somewhere else when our system says you were here," she lets the implication hang. The word forgery is sitting between us like a live wire. I pick it up. "I believe the signature on that guarantee is forged," I say quietly. "I did not sign it. Someone did it in my name." Her fingers move again, not on the keyboard, but grabbing a pen. "Okay," she says, voice lower now. "Say that again and slower." I do. She writes as I speak. My words land in ink this time, not just air. When she's done, she taps the pen against the legal pad once, twice, then looks over her shoulder toward the back offices. "I want you to talk to someone," she says. "Internal audit. He's going to be in your review meeting anyway." She makes a quick call, her voice shifting to professional brightness over the line, then hangs up. "He'll meet us in one of the small rooms," she tells me. "Bring your folder." We walk down a short hall to a windowless conference room the size of a walk-in closet. The air is cooler here, forced through a vent that hums steadily overhead. A desktop tower fan in the corner clicks as it oscillates, breeze hitting my ankle every few seconds. There's a table, 3 chairs, and a small speakerphone in the middle with a red mute light glowing. Mr. Patel arrives with a slim notebook tucked under his arm. He's in a plain shirt and tie, glasses sliding a little down his nose. He looks like the kind of person who reads footnotes for fun. "Ms. Lopez," he says, offering his hand. His grip is dry, precise. "I'm Raj Patel, Internal Audit." "Thank you for making time," I say. He sits opposite me, opens his notebook, and uncaps a pen. "So," he says, "Harper tells me you have concerns about your loan file. I'd like you to walk me through them from the beginning. I won't interrupt unless I need a date or a name." He doesn't. I tell the story with the coin in my palm, letting its warmth tether me to the facts instead of the feelings. The consent form I never remember signing. The facility I discover from a blocked transfer. The discrepancy between my logs and their dates. The comparison of signatures. The family dinner that is less a meeting and more a test I know I will fail. When I get to the word forgery again, I don't lower my voice. The walls are bland beige. They can absorb it. He listens, head bent, pen moving. The only other sounds are the vent's steady hiss, the faint clicking of the tower fan, and the occasional beep from a phone in the hallway when someone gets an email. When I finish, he caps the pen and looks at the red folder on the table between us. "May I see your copies?" he asks. I slide the envelope over. He opens it with care, not tearing the flap, just easing it up. He lays out the documents, the genuine signatures from smaller forms, the suspect ones, my logs, the consent form. He lines them up like evidence on a TV courtroom show, but his face stays neutral. "First," he says, "you did the right thing by coming in and putting this in writing. Once you articulate a concern like this, the bank has obligations." The word lands heavy. "Obligations," I repeat. "To investigate," he says. "To report certain things to certain parties if they meet thresholds, regulators, sometimes law enforcement, and to remediate if we find errors. External eyes, real ones, the audience I've been building toward. We also have an upcoming file review on this account," he adds. "External auditors will be on that call. They set the sampling plan, but internal concerns, like this one, can influence which files they pull apart." "How do I make sure they see this?" I ask. Not just the pretty forecast my brother rehearsed. "You attend," he says simply, "as the customer representative, and you submit your concerns in writing beforehand, addressed to both the bank and the audit team. That way, when they open your file, your dispute is already part of the record they're testing." He reaches into his notebook and pulls out a small rubber date stamp and a black ink pad I hadn't noticed. "Chain of custody matters," he says, almost to himself, "especially if this goes beyond us." He takes my copies one by one, lays the stamp at the bottom corner, and presses down. The device makes a hollow, satisfying thud. Ink blooms into neat numbers. Today's date, tiny and final. The sound is small, but in this room it feels like a gavel. He notes each document in his notebook. Description, date received, from whom. Harper watches, quiet, as if she's seeing something rare. "These go into the audit file," he says. "Not just the relationship file. Different access, different rules about deletion." "What about me keeping copies?" I ask. "Of course," he says. "Scan everything you can at home. Keep originals safe. If anyone ever questions your timeline, having parallel records helps." He slides the folder back to me, now stamped, logged, heavier somehow. "We will not mention your brother's name in any accusatory way without evidence," he adds. "Our focus is on whether the bank's processes were followed and whether the signatures are valid. If we conclude they're not, there are steps. Some of them are not optional. Obligations again, steps, a polite way of saying consequences." "What do you need from me between now and the review?" I ask. "2 things," he says. He holds up a finger. 1, a formal written dispute. Email is fine, but keep it tight. Date discrepancies, location evidence, signature concerns. No family drama, just facts. He lifts a second finger. 2, you attend the review call. Listen more than you speak. Answer questions directly. Let the auditors lead." "And my brother?" I ask. He expects me to show up and smile. Mr. Patel's mouth tightens. Not quite a smile, not quite a frown. "I wouldn't tip him off to the scope of your concerns," he says. "If he believes this is a routine review, he'll behave accordingly. Auditors get better data that way." Harper clears her throat softly. Also, she adds, limit what you put in text to him. If he's going to incriminate himself, let it be on a recorded line, not in a screaming match in your kitchen. My mind flicks back to last night, the slapped palm on the table, the way his voice carried. The room where I will never win. This stays between us, I ask. Mr. Patel meets my eyes. Between us and the documented processes, he says, which in my world is the same thing as saying, it goes where it's supposed to. I nod. The coin is hot enough in my fist that, when I relax my fingers for a moment, there's a perfect circle printed in my skin, reddened and clear. I leave the small room with my folder under my arm. The stamp marks a quiet drumbeat under the manila. The corridor back to the lobby feels longer, the fluorescent lights harsher. My phone vibrates in my bag. A new email from the bank's scheduling system, inviting me to a customer review session next week at 10. In the subject line, my name sits beside the words external audit. For the first time, the meeting my brother is counting on to validate him is already tilting towards something else. The day of the audit review, the bank's main conference room looks even more like a stage than I imagined. Glass walls on 3 sides, the city's reflection faint in them like a ghost audience. A long, polished table stretches down the center, nameplates lined up in courteous little rows. The projector screen at the far end glows blank blue, waiting. In the ceiling, a discreet black camera blinks a tiny red light, live, streaming to whoever's on the other side of this show. The AC hums through a vent overhead, white noise turned up just enough to make everyone lean in a little closer. The carpet smells like it was steam cleaned yesterday to impress outsiders. Under that, there's the sharp ghost of toner and coffee. I sit at one side of the table with a tinted nameplate in front of me. My name, then co-borrower. My father's coin is in my right hand under the edge of the table, ridged edge pressed into my palm until I can feel every groove. My heart is loud, but it's steady. It keeps time with the tiny blink of the camera light. The regional director sits near the head of the table, tie tightened 1 notch more than usual, a neat stack of files in front of him. Laura, the branch manager, has her tablet open, stylus already in hand. Mr. Patel is a few seats down, notebook ready, glasses higher on his nose today. My brother strides in like he's walking on stage at a graduation. His tie is knotted perfectly. I can smell his cologne before he reaches his chair. He greets the regional director by first name, claps him lightly on the shoulder, laughs a little too loud. Big day, he says. Let's show them what we've built, huh? The regional director smiles, but it's tight. His gaze flicks to the camera. Let's make sure we all say what we need to say, he replies. Mom sits against the glass wall in one of the extra chairs, not at the table, but close enough to feel included. She's wearing her best blouse, the one she saved for church and funerals when Dad was alive. Her purse is clutched on her lap, both hands folded over it like she's afraid someone will take it away. She gives me a small, hopeful nod, like she still believes this will prove her son is the mastermind Dad always wanted. She does not see the red recording light above her head. I sit opposite my brother, directly across the table. When he drops into his chair, the leather sighs. His eyes slide to me, and for a second, the charm drops. You're going to be cool, right? He murmurs. Team united, no drama. The word team tastes like rust all over again. I'm going to tell the truth, I say. On record. He snorts softly, like that's such a cute, naive thing to say. The projector gives a relay click, then the blue screen blinks. A conferencing app window opens, and suddenly the blank fills with rectangles. Faces arranged in a neat grid. Some in office chairs, some in home offices. One in what looks like a bland government room with a seal on the wall. Good morning, everyone, a woman's voice comes through the speaker, clear and level. This is Elena Alvarez, lead external auditor for this engagement. Her face takes the largest box in the grid. Dark hair pulled back, glasses, expression neutral but sharp, like she's already 10 steps ahead. Today's session, she continues, is a live review of selected high-risk credit facilities. We're joined by representatives from bank management, internal audit, risk, and regulatory observers. Please be aware this session is being recorded and archived for compliance purposes. Recorded and archived. Paper, but for voices. She glances down at something off camera, then back up. One of the accounts in our sample, she says, is the Lopez Construction Revolving Facility. We understand we have both the primary relationship manager and the customer's representatives in the room. Can we do a quick roll call? The regional director clears his throat. Regional credit, he says, giving his name and title. Branch management, Lara adds. Internal audit, Mr. Patel says, with a small nod toward the camera. My brother leans in toward the table microphone, eager. Primary borrower and managing partner, he says, giving his full name. Lopez Construction. There's a beat. Alvarez's eyes shift, scanning the room beyond the camera like she knows someone is missing. And the co-borrower, she asks. We show a second legal party on this facility. I lean forward, bring my mouth close to the microphone. The coin is a hot circle in my fist. Co-borrower, I say. I'm here. My brother jumps in before I can add more. We're very excited to walk you through our growth plan, he says. We've had some incredible momentum in our pipeline, and this facility is the backbone of our expansion. I think once you see the projections, Mr. Lopez, Alvarez says, not raising her voice but cutting him off cleanly. We'll get to your projections. Before we begin, I'd like to hear directly from the co-borrower. She looks at me through the camera like there's no one else in the room. Ms. Lopez, can you confirm you're attending as co-borrower and that you understand this session will involve a detailed review of your account documentation? Yes, I say. My voice sounds steadier than I feel. I'm here as co-borrower, and I understand. Thank you, she says. We've also received a written communication from you raising concerns about certain documents in the file. Is it correct that you intend to cooperate fully with our review and that you stand by those concerns? The air changes. The AC hum feels sharper, like it's blowing truth around the room. Yes, I say. I intend to cooperate fully, and yes, I stand by what I submitted. Something shifts in the conference room. The regional director's pen stills over his notebook. Laura's stylus stops mid-hover. Even Mom's fingers tighten on her purse strap. On the screen, one of the smaller rectangles. Someone labeled Regulatory Observer leans forward slightly, as if they've just heard their favorite word. My brother's jaw works. There's been a misunderstanding, he says quickly. Internal family miscommunication. We're aligned now, it's all… Mr. Lopez, Alvarez says again, same calm tone. I'm going to ask you to let your co-borrower speak for herself when I address her. You'll have an opportunity to respond later, and please remember this is a professional review, not a family mediation. A faint, embarrassed murmur ripples around the table. Mom's eyes flick to my brother, then back to the glowing screen. Understood, my brother mutters, the words squeezed out between his teeth. Good, Alvarez says. Let's start with the basics. She gestures off-screen. The projector image shifts. The camera grid shrinks to a band at the top, and a spreadsheet fills most of the wall. Rows and columns, numbers marching down the screen. Facility number, dates, draw amounts, payments. A flick of her cursor and it changes again. Now scanned documents appear, thumbnails on the side, a larger panel in the center. In our pre-call work, she narrates, we've conducted preliminary handwriting consistency checks and timeline verifications on key documents. We'll walk through a few of those today. My forged signature appears in the center of the screen, blown up bigger than my face. Every loop and stroke magnified. The ink slightly feathered where a pen pressed too hard into paper. The room goes very still. That, Alvarez says, is the personal guarantee dated March 10th, executed at the branch, tying the facility to the Lopez residence. Mom's hand flies to her chest. Even enlarged and a little pixelated, the address is unmistakable. On the opposite side of the table, my brother's right hand flexes on the edge of the wood. The tendons in his wrist stand out, then disappear as he forces his fingers flat. We've compared this signature, Alvarez continues, to a set of known exemplars from Ms. Lopez, vendor authorizations, historical account openings, prior loan documents, and to other signatures appearing in the file more recently. The screen splits, dividing into two panels. On the left, the guarantee with the lazy curl of my name. On the right, a stack of smaller exemplars. My real signature marching down in a tidy column. It's common for signatures to vary slightly over time, she says. But the question we look at is consistency of the stroke, pressure, and form. Mr. Patel glances at me just once. His notebook is open to a page labeled Timeline in neat capitals. Without drawing a formal conclusion yet, Alvarez says, I can say the March 10th guarantee displays material inconsistencies compared to Ms. Lopez's historical signatures. The pressure pattern is different. The terminal strokes tilt in the opposite direction. There are also timing discrepancies between when this document was supposedly executed and other location evidence provided. The word discrepancies feels like a door cranking open on rusty hinges, Location evidence? The regulatory observer asks, voice cutting in from their small rectangle. Yes, Alvarez says. Her cursor moves again. A new slide appears. A list of timestamps, GPS coordinates from my job app, a copy of the city inspector's report with a timestamp, a tiny thumbnail of a security camera frame from the Maplewood site. Me in a hard hat, dust on my jeans, talking to an inspector. At 3:30 p.m. on March 10th, she continues. The bank system records a document execution in branch under Ms. Lopez's profile. At that same time, independent logs place her at a construction site across town, engaged in a city inspection. We have not yet located corroborating footage of her entering the branch that day. The regional director shifts in his seat. That's concerning, he manages. We agree, Alvarez says calmly, which is why this facility was flagged for deeper review. My brother can't hold it anymore. So what are you implying? He bursts out. That my sister's memory is perfect and everyone else here is lying? His voice bounces off the glass, sharp enough that a pair of junior staffers out in the hallway look over as they pass. Mom flinches like someone slapped the air beside her. Alvarez doesn't flinch. At this point, she says, we're not implying anything beyond the fact that the documentation and timing don't reconcile. Our job is to identify those breaks and determine whether they result from process error, miscommunication, or something more serious. Her eyes fix on him now, not unkind, but unblinking. And to do that, she adds, we're going to need very clear answers about who requested this facility, who handled the paperwork, and how this signature came to appear on this page. The projector fan whirs louder for a moment, then settles. The camera's red light blinks, steady, recording every inhale. My brother's fingers drum once on the table, then stop when he catches the regional director's look. The coin in my palm feels like it's fused there, a hot brand of all the nights I spend balancing numbers instead of stories. Her cursor circles the blown-up signature on the guarantee. Ms. Lopez, she asks, do you recognize this as your signature? The whole room seems to lean toward the question. The projector's low buzz fills the ceiling. The red camera light blinks, steady, patient. The coin is hot in my fist under the table. I feel each ridge bite into my skin. I look at the giant version of my name on the wall. The lazy loop, the heavy landing, the final stroke leaning the wrong way, like it's trying to walk out of itself. No, I say, I don't. My voice doesn't crack. It lands clean, like a stamp. I do not recognize that as my signature, I add, and I did not sign that document. There's a tiny intake of breath from Mom's corner. The regional director's pen freezes in mid-tap and hangs there, hovering. Thank you, Alvarez says. Her tone doesn't change, but there's a new sharpness under it now, like a blade turned edge up. She clicks something off-screen. The projected image shifts. Now my false signature is on the left half of the screen, and a neat column of my real signatures appears on the right. Old account openings, vendor forms, a lease renewal. Dates in the top corner of each. We've engaged a forensic handwriting consultant as part of this review, she says. I'm going to summarize their preliminary opinion for the record. Text appears beneath the images, dense paragraphs in black, highlighted lines in yellow. I can't read all the words from where I sit, but the headings are big enough. Pressure pattern analysis, stroke direction, pen lift points. The consultant compared 10 samples of Ms. Lopez's known signatures over a span of 8 years, Alvarez narrates. These exemplars show consistent stroke order, consistent initiation pressure, and a characteristic tilt on final strokes to the right. Her cursor traces one of my real signatures, following the motion I know in my bones. In contrast, she continues, drawing a circle around the guarantee. The disputed signature demonstrates atypical initiation pressure, multiple unnatural pen lifts, and tremors in certain strokes that are consistent with a simulation, someone attempting to copy a form visually rather than writing in their natural hand. She lets that sit a second. The AC kicks a little harder, a cool draft down the back of my neck. The consultant's written opinion, she says, highlighting a section of text, is that it is highly unlikely the disputed signatures were written by the same person who executed the known exemplars, absent significant neurological or physical change. Mom's hand flies to her mouth. Neurological, she whispers, like if she can grab that word, she can use it later. My health records are boring, I say, before my brother can. No stroke, no injury, no condition. Alvarez nods once, like she already knew that. My brother lunges for the microphone. Look, handwriting changes under stress, he says, words tumbling. She's been overwhelmed. She signs things in trucks, on job sites, on her knee. Of course it looks different. We're not done, Alvarez says. Her cursor moves again. The signatures shrink to the top of the screen, and a new document fills the center. A table with timestamps, door IDs, camera references, branch entry log. Signatures don't exist in a vacuum, she says. We also look at access records. She scrolls down. Rows of entries slide past. Date, time, door, ID used. She zooms in on March 10th. At 14:48 hours, she reads, we have entry recorded for Mr. Daniel Lopez. Her cursor circles his name. At 14:51, we have an internal note from a branch associate. Customer requests to take paperwork for sister to sign off-site. Says she is on a tight schedule. Next to the note, a little text bubble icon appears. Alvarez clicks it. A scanned comment pops up, the associate's initials scribbled in blue. But we have no record, she continues, of Ms. Lopez entering the branch that day. No ID scan. No camera hit on the lobby facial recognition. No teller interaction. The camera pans a little on our side of the table as someone adjusts the angle. The red record light watches my brother now, not me. Ms. Lopez, Alvarez says, turning back to me. For the record, did you sign these documents in this branch on March 10th? The projector hums. Someone's stomach growls quietly and gets swallowed by the AC hiss. I tighten my fingers around the coin. Its warmth steadies me. A small sun trapped in my hand. No, I say. I did not. I look straight at the camera box where Alvarez's face lives. I did not sign those documents in this branch on that date, I repeat. I did not authorize anyone to sign on my behalf. I did not give permission for my signature to be copied. Across from me, my brother makes a sharp sound, half laugh, half scoff. Come on, he bursts out. We've gone over this. She signed in my truck. We were parked outside the supply yard. She was rushing. You're acting like every signature has to be a ceremony. We told the banker we'd get her signature. It's just process. Lara's eyes snap to him at the word told. Mr. Patel's pen starts moving again, fast. Alvarez doesn't raise her voice. She doesn't have to. Mr. Lopez, she says, you're describing what we refer to as misrepresentation. Telling bank personnel a document will be executed in a certain way while planning to do something different. He opens his mouth, but she holds up a hand. Let me be very clear about policy, she says. And now her voice has the tone of someone reading from a rulebook tattooed on their spine. If a bank employee or customer knowingly submits documents containing forged or simulated signatures, that triggers mandatory incident reporting. The facility may be suspended pending investigation. And where appropriate, she glances at one of the smaller rectangles on screen. We are required to notify law enforcement. The phrase law enforcement lands like a weight dropped from a height. My brother's knuckles go white on the table edge. The regional director's pen stops, midair, then gets placed down with exaggerated care. Hold on, my brother says, voice climbing. Hold on. Nobody forged anything. My sister is just stressed. She doesn't remember every form she signed. We were in and out of this branch for weeks. Truck, counter, whatever. Who cares where the pen touches the paper if we're all on the same page about the business? We care, Alvarez says. The regulators care, and the statute cares. The word statute hangs in the cold air like a new kind of weather. Mr. Patel shifts in his chair, just enough that I see it. He taps the table twice with the side of his finger, then glances toward the door. Two men in dark blazers, who have been standing unobtrusively at the back of the room near the glass wall, step a little closer to our end of the table. They don't say anything. They don't touch him. They just close the distance. Bank security. I clock them when I walk in. Part of me files them as decor. Now they're part of the scene. The air feels thinner. The projector fan whirs louder, then settles back into a steady drone. The red camera light keeps blinking, capturing the way my brother's shoulders creep up toward his ears. This is insane, he says, a little too loud. We're talking about squiggles on a page when the real issue is you all dragging your feet on supporting small businesses. Mom finally finds her voice. Danny, she whispers from the wall. His name a prayer and a warning tangled together. Stop. He barrels on, eyes on the screen instead of on her. My sister has always had a flair for drama, he tells Alvarez, forcing a smile. She's making a big show of forgery because she's mad I took the lead. We are not criminals. This is a misunderstanding. and I am not going to sit here and be treated like some scam artist. Then help us reconcile the facts, Alvarez says. If your sister did not sign in branch, and the documents show her signature, someone else wrote her name. That is not a misunderstanding. That is an event we are required to respond to. The regulatory observer clears their throat in their little rectangle. For the record, they say, I'd like to note that the customer has now explicitly denied signing the guarantee. Any continued funding under this facility prior to resolution would raise serious concerns from our side. That drained some color from the regional director's face. He nods stiffly. Understood, he says. We can suspend further draws pending the outcome of this review. My brother's head snaps toward him. You can't do that, he says. We have payroll, materials ordered. You pull this line and you strangle us. You made commitments with a signature that's in question, I say, finally turning to look at him. That's what strangles us. He stares at me like I've betrayed him in a language he never bothered to learn. His chair scrapes as he half stands, leaning over the table. You really want to see them call the police on your own brother, he demands. You want to see Mom watch that? Mom's fingers clutch her purse so tight I'm afraid the handles will snap. Her lips move around his name again, softer now, like it's starting to taste like an apology she doesn't know how to form. Alvarez's voice cuts through the tension, cool and clean. No one here has used the word arrest, she says. What we are saying is that bank policy and federal law dictate certain responses when we discover possible forgery. We will gather facts. We will file the required incident reports, and we will cooperate fully with any follow-up. Mr. Patel closes his notebook with a quiet thump and lifts his gaze to the security officers, giving the smallest of nods. They take another step closer, positioning themselves just behind my brother's chair now, not touching, just there. A human parenthesis around his options. The projector flicks to a new slide. Next steps, bullet points marching down the wall. Incident report initiated. Further documentation requested. Potential law enforcement notification. My brother sits back down slowly, like the chair has gained 10 pounds. His hand slides off the table and into his lap, fingers twitching for a coin he never bothers to carry. The only thing I can hear for a moment is the AC hissing through the vent and the tiny, relentless blink of the red recording light above us, counting every second until his story finally runs out of room. Then the spell breaks. Chairs scrape. Someone clears their throat. The security officers step in closer with a polite murmur about continuing this conversation outside the conference room. My brother's voice spikes. This is ridiculous, he says, pushing back from the table so hard his chair jolts. We're talking about a paperwork glitch. This is a family matter, not a criminal investigation. The regional director's jaw clenches. Alvarez's image on the screen stays smooth and unreadable. For the record, she says, our preliminary recommendation is that the facility be frozen pending investigation. No further draws until the documentation issues are resolved. Ms. Lopez's personal guarantee is considered disputed. The word frozen lands like a pane of glass dropping between my brother and his plans. We'll document your statement in full, she adds, this part addressed to me. Internal audit and compliance will coordinate any follow-up with law enforcement as required. Required, obligated. Words that do not care about last names. Security gestures toward the door. Sir, one of them says, let's step into the hallway. My brother shrugs off the hand that doesn't quite touch his arm. Fine, he snaps. He snatches up his folder, leaves it, snatches it up again, then leaves it anyway. You're making a mistake, he throws over his shoulder, but he's aiming it at everyone at once, so it hits no one. They guide him out. The glass door swings shut behind them with a soft click that sounds louder than the arguments still leaking back through the walls. In the hallway, his voice bounces off the glass. You can't freeze the account. I have payroll, he insists. You people are overreacting. This is between me and my sister. We'll fix it. She's confused. The rest blurs into muffled shapes. The words dulled, but not erased. Staff pass by with their eyes doing that careful, averted thing. The one that says we didn't hear anything. We never hear anything. Even though everybody hears everything in a building like this. A small camera in the corner above the hallway door watches silently, its lens a steady black eye. Inside, Alvarez's voice goes on like his shouting is just another piece of office noise. Regional, she says, will expect written confirmation that draws are suspended as of close of business today. internal audit will log Ms. Lopez's dispute file as high priority. The regional director nods, throat working. Consider it done, he says. And Ms. Lopez, Alvarez adds, turning back to me. Thank you for your cooperation and for raising your concerns through the proper channels. This is exactly how these issues are supposed to surface. Proper channels. I think of Dad at the kitchen table, tapping the spine of a bank statement. I'll remain available if you need additional information, I say. My voice feels like it's coming from somewhere very still inside me. The call winds down, recaps, next steps, formal thanks. The red recording light finally goes dark, and the projector screen snaps back to that blank blue that looks like nothing ever happened here. Mr. Patel touches my elbow lightly. If you're up to it, he says, we'd like to get your formal statement now. While everything's fresh. Everything is raw, not fresh, but I nod. They lead me down a narrower hallway to a smaller office with no windows. The air is still, faintly stale, like paper and old coffee. There's a round table, 3 chairs, and a stack of yellow forms that look like they were printed to catch other people's bad decisions. A woman from compliance is already there, laptop open, fingers poised. Her badge lanyard has a little plastic charm clipped to it, some cartoon animal that looks wildly out of place next to words like incident report. Whenever you're ready, she says, we'll go chronologically. Mr. Patel sets a digital recorder in the middle of the table. He presses a button. It beeps once. A small electronic chirp. A red dot lights up. I sit. The chair creaks under me. The coin finds its place in my palm, as automatic as breathing. I'll start with the blocked transfer notification, I say. 2 weeks ago, around the middle of the afternoon. I walk them through it. The bank app ping. The credit facility I don't recognize. The first phone call with Hannah, the rep who sends me the consent form. I describe the family meeting at the dining table, the smell of lemon polish and old candles, the way my brother's palm hits the wood. The compliance officer types, head bowed, occasionally asking me to spell a name. Mr. Patel jots notes in the margins of his legal pad, marking times and dates like fence posts. When I get to Harper, I slide my phone across the table, screen lit. These are the location logs from the job tracker, I say. Screenshots from the day the guarantee is dated. You can see the timestamps for when I arrived on site, when the inspector signed off. The compliance officer pulls out her own phone, but not to scroll. She uses it like a camera, framing each screenshot, each text thread, each calendar entry. The shutter sound is turned off, so the only evidence of each capture is the subtle movement of her thumb. We'll upload these directly into the file, she says. We'll note that they were provided by you today, under your own login. They take photos of the red folder, too. The stamped copies Mr. Patel logged earlier, the inked dates, the signatures. The coin stays in my hand. Some things don't go in the file. There's a knock at the door. It opens halfway, and a man steps in. Plainclothes, button-down shirt, badge clipped to his belt. His hair is cropped short. His eyes the kind that have seen too many ways people try to make paper lie. Detective Harris, he says, holding up the badge just long enough to make it official. Financial Crimes Liaison. I'm here at the bank's request. Mom is behind him, in the doorway, clutching a styrofoam cup with both hands. The coffee in it has cooled into a flat, dark circle she isn't drinking. Her fingers tremble just enough to wrinkle the rim. The detective takes the empty chair, sets a thin folder in front of him. I've had a quick briefing from Mr. Patel, he says. His voice is calm, measured, almost bored. I'm going to be very blunt, so there's no confusion. He looks at me first. Altering or forging signatures on financial documents, he says, especially those used to obtain credit, is not just bad behavior or a family dispute. It's fraud. Depending on the amounts and intent, it can rise to felony charges. The law doesn't care if the people involved share a last name. Mom flinches like each word is a pebble hitting glass. We're still in the early information stage, he adds. But if the evidence supports what you've described, there will be a case file. There may be charges. That's not something the bank or you can quietly make go away in a living room conversation. My throat tightens, but not from doubt, from the finality in his tone. I understand, I say. He nods, makes a note. In a minute, he says, I'm going to talk to your brother separately. For now, I need to confirm a few points of your statement. We go back over the key beats, the consent form email, the facility discovery, the dates that do not match. Each time, he asks, is this accurate to the best of your knowledge? Each time, I answer yes. Mom finally speaks, voice thin. She's not trying to hurt him, she says. They're all I have. This will destroy our family. Detective Harris looks at her, and there's something almost gentle in his expression. But it doesn't touch his words. Ma'am, he says, I'm not here to weigh who loves who. I'm here to look at whether a crime occurred. Families survive all kinds of things. The law still has a job. Her hands shake harder around the cup. The coffee sloshes but doesn't spill. She stares at the table, at nothing. In the hallway, my brother's voice spikes again, hoarse now from wearing itself out against security and glass. I'm not going into some back room like I did something wrong, he protests. I said it was a misunderstanding. This is insane. Sir, a security officer answers, tone flat. They just want to get your side on record. On record, he echoes, bitter. Like that means anything when my own sister. His words cut off as they walk him past the door. The detective stands to meet them, stepping into the hall. For a moment, my brother is framed in the doorway. His face is flushed, eyes bright with something that might be rage or fear or both. His tie is crooked now, the knot yanked sideways. For all his talk about leadership, he looks smaller in the fluorescent light, like a kid caught in a lie he swore would hold. Our eyes meet. He looks betrayed, like I handed his name to strangers and let them carve it up. Like I chose them over him. I look tired, bone-deep tired, the kind that doesn't sleep off. But there's something else in there too, under the exhaustion. Something that looks a lot like relief, sharp and guilty and real. The coin presses a familiar circle into my palm, grounding me in a different kitchen under a yellowed light. Dad's voice saying, if you're signing what you didn't read, you're the one handing them the knife. He teaches us both that. Only one of us listens. Weeks later, I'm on a hard wooden bench outside a different room with different glass and a different vent humming overhead. The courthouse corridor smells like floor polish and tired suits. Fluorescent lights buzz in a long, relentless line down the ceiling, no softer than the ones in the conference room, just less apologetic about it. There's a digital docket screen on the wall across from me. Names and case numbers scroll, black on white. At first, when the file is born, it has a title that sounds like an accusation. Financial fraud, bank incident, alleged forgery. Now it's boiled down to a number with my brother's name after it, snug between strangers who steal cars and strangers who swing fists. I read the line without flinching. The coin sits in my palm, warm and familiar, pressing a small circle into the skin like a reminder and a witness. Inside the courtroom, a bailiff's voice carries through the closed door, all echo and ritual, calling the docket, telling everyone to rise. The door opens briefly as someone slips out, and I catch a slice of that other air, dry, recycled, heavy with paper and expectation. The Lopez matter will be heard shortly, the clerk says at check-in, her tone more bored than cruel. Please stay close. So I stay close. Mom sits beside me, purse hugged to her ribs, coat still buttoned even though the building is too warm. Her eyes are on her hands, folded neat and shaking just enough to ripple the fabric. She doesn't call him the strong one anymore. Now he is just my son, the way she says it to the detective in the bank that day. My son. 3 syllables that used to be a crown. Now a weight she can barely lift. They said it might just be a plea, she murmurs, more to the floor than to me. No trial. No. Her fingers twitch, miming a gavel she can't quite name. Arraignment, I say. Then plea, then scheduling. The words come out like items on a punch list, not because I'm cold, but because I'm exhausted. Courts are just another kind of construction site, different dust. Our business has already been under construction for weeks. Under supervision, they call it. The fraudulent loan is unwound corner by careful corner, the line frozen, then drained. We sit through meetings with lawyers and accountants, where they talk about restructuring like they're talking about replacing load-bearing walls. There is a new bank now, smaller, pickier. We meet in a room that smells like fresh paint and coffee. A lawyer at my elbow and my own pen in my hand. The paperwork is clean, straightforward, half the size and twice as precise. The banker slides the final page toward me, fingertip resting on the line. When you're ready, she says. I place the coin on the table with my left hand, a small brass circle ringing the wood in a private ritual. With my right, I sign, slow. No rushing, no truck dashboard, no distracted pen in the air between job sites. Each stroke feels deliberate, like I'm not just writing my name but stitching it back onto my life. The lawyer watches, nods once. He countersigns. The banker adds her initials. Then her stamp hits the page with a solid thunk. Approved. This time, the word feels like a boundary, not a trap. The house is safe for now. The bad line of credit is a knot being picked apart by people who know which threads to cut and which to keep. We still have the yard, the truck, the tools. We have work, less of it, but cleaner. Mom is quieter in that house too. She apologizes in sideways ways. She makes my favorite soup without asking, leaves it on the stove with the heat off and the lid on, says, "There's food if you're hungry." Like she's not sure she's allowed to care for me anymore. When the mail comes, she doesn't sign anything at the counter. She brings envelopes to the table and waits for me to finish whatever spreadsheet or bid proposal I'm staring at. "Will you read these?" she asks now, "before I. Her fingers hover over the lines where the pen would go. We sit under the same yellowish kitchen light where Dad once pressed the coin into my hand. I read every page. I circle phrases in blue ink, write plain words in the margins. "This one is fine," I tell her. "This one you don't have to rush." Trust is not a switch. It's a slow drip between people who both have to want it. For the first time, I let it be slow. On a rainy afternoon, I meet Harper at a coffee shop across from the branch. She's off-duty in a cardigan that isn't bank-issued, and sneakers that squeak a little on the tile. The place smells like beans and sugar and wet umbrellas. "Policy update season," she groans, stirring foam into her drink. "We're getting new training modules about third-party fraud and forged authorizations." "Because of us?" I ask. "In part," she admits, a wry tilt to her mouth. "Your case made it into the slide deck. We spent 20 minutes last week walking through your file as a red flag example." She air quotes it. "You're famous?" The idea of my mess being someone's morning webinar topic should humiliate me. Instead, it lands sideways. "Good," I say. If some junior analyst in another branch sees your name in a note that says, "On a tight schedule, I'll take the forms to her." Maybe they'll think twice. "Someone already did," Harper says. Maybe now they won't be the only one. We talk about thresholds and triggers, about how many cases never get beyond annoyed phone calls and shrugged shoulders. She tells me they've tightened the rules around letting anyone walk out with unsigned packets. "Harper's rule," she jokes. "No signature, no travel." The rain taps on the window beside us. I wrap my fingers around the coin in my pocket, thumb tracing the worn emblem. And for the first time in weeks, the sound of water on glass doesn't make my chest feel like it's about to crack. Now, in the courthouse hallway, a bailiff opens the heavy courtroom door and calls a name I know too well. Case number. The digits tumble out. State versus Lopez. My brother stands up a little way down the hall with his lawyer at his elbow. His hair is neater today, his shirt pressed, but there's a tightness around his mouth that no iron can smooth. Mom rises like someone pulls her up on strings. "My son," she whispers, barely audible. We follow them inside. The courtroom smells like paper and old wood. The vent hum is familiar. The pews creak under shifting weight. I take a seat in the back row, coin already warm in my hand. The judge's bench looks high enough to be a cliff. The clerk reads the charges in a flat, practiced voice. Fraud, false instrument, bank-related words stacked like bricks. "How do you plead?" the judge asks. His lawyer answers for him. "Guilty, Your Honor," he says, "pursuant to the negotiated plea. Reduced charges, restitution, a ban on managing other people's money for a long, long time." The conditions have numbers and subsections. There are no words like brother or sister or mom anywhere in the agreement. The judge asks my brother if he understands, if anyone forced him, if he's satisfied with his representation. My brother's voice is small when he says yes. When they talk about restitution, the amounts feel abstract, just more digits on a page. But I know what they used to stand for: materials, payroll, mortgage payments that might have vanished into someone else's pocket if that ping on my phone hadn't felt wrong. "Is the victim present?" the judge asks at one point. The prosecutor nods toward me without turning. "She is, Your Honor," he says. She's chosen not to address the court. I could stand up. I could walk to the front, feel the eyes on my back, talk about kitchen tables and conference rooms, and the way it feels when your own name shows up in ink you didn't pour. Instead, I stay where I am. The record already speaks. The reports, the logs, the images of my forged signature blown up for everyone to see. The case number on the docket. The plea in my brother's own mouth. I curl my fingers tighter around the coin until it bites a crescent into my skin. My father's voice comes back to me, softer now, less like a warning and more like a blessing. Paper remembers what people forget. He tried to forge my name. He never got close to who I am.